all, Caina, Hands That Pluck. And this album came out in 2011 on Profound Lore Records. Caina is one man by the name of Andrew Curtis Brignell, and he hails from the UK. Hands That Pluck is a mixture of just raw black metal, post-metal, indie rock, and shoegaze, just to name a few. And if I ran through all the different styles expressed on this record, I would be here for well over 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, there's so many different styles. And Hands That Pluck has 3 guest vocalists on it. The first being Lord Imperial from Krieg, who's on the track Murrin. The second being Chris Ross from Blood Revolt and Revenge on the track I Know Thee of Old. And a personal favorite of mine being the third, Rennie Reesmini from Starkweather on the track Callous and Cicatrix. And this entire album is just one mangled mind melter. The mixture on Hands That Pluck is so very potent, with the variety of different influences just crafted together. Like, for instance, the opening track, Profane Inheritors, that immediately goes right at your jugular. And Andrew's vocals sound wonderful, spewing bile all over Profane Inheritors with gargly, guttural black metal vocals. Riffs are fast, dark, and hopeless sounding, played in a very crust meets raw black metal style, not unlike present-day Dark Throne. And gradually, as the track progresses, dark shoegaze creeps in, and the two styles begin to bob and weave around each other, growing into what becomes very dreamy and uplifting at its end. On the track Murrin, Lord Imperial picks up the mic along with Andrew, and things become more heady as Hands That Pluck becomes more dense and faster and darker as the snares is beaten senseless and we're dropped in and out of minimalist shoegaze that just brightens the path. There are 2 instrumental soundscapes on Hands That Pluck, and both have film quotes embedded in them. The first quote coming from Sam Peckinpah's World War II epic Cross of Iron, and the second from Lars von Trier's Antichrist. And there's a full-on just indie rock track on here. The track The Sea of Grief Has No Shores, that opens up with this very heavily distorted recording of a choir that tails off into silence before gently weeping guitar strums in with piano, lightly played drums, along with impressive bass work that's just full of character. And on Callous and Cicatrix, one of my vocal heroes, Rennie Reesmini, is welcomed alongside just crashing cymbals, whining feedback, and dirgy guitar work as he spills out the multi-personalities within his vocal style, sounding as if he's possessed by just an army of demons, while singing over a mixture of blackened crust that dives into minimalist indie rock and shoegaze, while the atmosphere of the back walls softly creeps in, just letting us know that there's someone else in the room. And this track is just chaos at its finest. And it's my favorite track on Hands That Pluck. And Somnium and Ignis is a menacing mid-tempo black metal track, layered with synthesis and shoegaze that blasts into rabid blast beat outbursts. And by the end I had Andrew's vocals, Let There Be Darkness, Let There Be Death, echoing through my head. And I Know Thee of Old starts right off with a soul guitar playing acoustic folk with the sounds of birds singing in the backdrop. Gentle folk guitar becomes gentle black metal riffs that become increasingly more menacing. And unexpectedly, the rope snaps, and I'm being ripped apart by blast beats, unclockable speed, and guest vocalist Chris Ross, his vocals kick in and sound very low, deep, guttural, and tormented before I Know Thee of Old transforms into a slower pace that include rolling drums, menacing guitars, and vocals sung in a distinct style that immediately makes me think of Tom Waits. And even more influences are embedded in, before being buried in a haze of blast beats once again, that spew you out through shoegaze and indie rock. And the closing track is entitled 93, and it actually sounds like a closing track, and gives off this overwhelming feeling of mourning with a slow, minimalist, black metal delivery. Andrew's vocals just sound lost of all hope. And as 93 nears its conclusion, another style is introduced, and that being shoegaze meets pop punk, where guitar picks up the pace, and for the last time drags you through hell, then spits you out just uplifted. And this album, Hands That Pluck, it's just so potent with influences, layers, and complexity. And the deeper I dig into this record, the more hidden treasures I find buried in the mix. I found a country guitar riff on one track that I hadn't heard before. If you pay attention to just the atmosphere, there's a whole lot more going on than meets the ear. And there's instances like this throughout this record, and the mix is seamless. With this many influences, you would expect that this would be one fucked up, just jumbled mess, but no, it is seamless. I can't find a single flaw in this record, and it clocks in at over 70 minutes. I'm loving everything about it, the way it's produced, the choices of additional vocalists to guest on this record, the style of black metal chosen for each and every track, and the fact that I can't really define their sound at all. It is black metal, but it's way more than just that. And if you buy this record, it comes with an additional disc with select tracks from Caina's previous efforts. And what he does is he takes those tracks and he reworks those same tracks, and the new tracks that he has reworked sound nothing like the original. He's just that good. It sounds like just an entirely different song. And along with that, there's a nice surprise on the additional disc as well. He covers Nico's Roses in the Snow and manages to make it sound even darker and haunting than the original. For me, this album is perfection. This is definitely a record that should be listened to in its entirety. Has so many different influences embedded throughout it, and I'm going to link you to the only track they have online, which is the opening track, Profane Inheritors. Definitely peep out that track. Definitely peep this album out. Absolutely just profound record. It's Caina's Hands That Pluck, and it came out on Profound Lower Records in 2011. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.